Glory Professional Alliance is a globally famous game. Currently, this game has up to 130 million players. Many organizations and professional teams have been established, but the one considered the strongest and the most famous in this gaming world holds the title of Battle God. That person is named Yi Chu. Under Yi Chu's leadership, his team won the championship 3 years in a row in the professional league. However, this year the team's performance has been very unstable. The whole team has almost no good results. Yi Chu's close friend called him to the club for a meeting. Here, the management claimed, the reason for such terrible performance is because Yi Chu is currently past his prime. So they decided to strip him of the captain's position. And the replacement is Sun Shang, a young member who just joined. Sun Shang took this opportunity and mocked. Yi Chu is too old and outdated. The chairman demanded Yi Chu hand over the account card to Sun Shang. Although he was unwilling, Yi Chu still handed everything over. He only told Sun Shang to play well, and asked him not to boast about the title of Battle God. At this moment, the chairman suggested Yi Chu stay as a coach. But Yi Chu refused, and he wanted to terminate the contract. But the condition the chairman gave was, he had to announce his retirement to the whole world. Su Mucheng is Yi Chu's friend. She is also a member of the team. Su Mucheng understood. They want to force Yi Chu into a dead end. Because if Yi Chu retires, no team will take him anymore. However, Yi Chu still agreed to sign the retirement contract. Thus, he left the club. At that moment, Su Mucheng asked why he did such a thing. Yi Chu just smiled and told Su Mucheng to go home first. He said, "I will rest for a year and then think about it." Yi Chu knew that he no longer had any value for the organization. So he decided to leave and think about his own future. But Yi Chu's money had already run out, because he always helped his friends. Now, when it came to himself, Yi Chu didn't even have enough to support his own life. On the way back, Yi Chu accidentally saw an internet cafe. He went in and rented a computer. There, Yi Chu met a girl playing Glory. She played very badly and had a hot temper. After losing, she slammed the keyboard and walked away. She muttered to herself, "Why have I played for 5 years? Yet my skill is still so bad?" At present, this girl is on a losing streak of 52 matches. Suddenly, as she was leaving, she remembered that she hadn't logged out of her account. So, she quickly came back, and he broke her losing streak in less than a minute. At that moment, a staff member came over and handed Yi Chu an ID card. The girl suspected he might actually be the hidden pro player Yi Chu. However, on the ID card, his real name was written as Yi Shu. She thought that she might have mistaken him for someone else. So, she quickly changed her attitude. Yi Chu quickly realized that this girl was actually the owner of the internet cafe. And she was looking to hire night shift staff. So, he immediately applied for the job. But the owner set a condition. He must defeat her in the game to be hired. However, Yi Chu had already lost his main account. So, he retrieved his first-generation game card, which Yi Chu had used for 10 years. Hearing this, the owner was very impressed, and she agreed to let him work. His very first task was to go buy food. As night fell, the internet cafe became even more crowded and lively. The owner was surprised to see Yi Chu only doing beginner missions. She couldn't believe a top-tier pro would act like that. But when she learned that she was a big fan of the pro player Yi Chu admitted, he really is Yi Chu. At this moment, the owner still didn't believe him. She even said, "If you are Yi Chu, then I must be Su Mucheng." Yi Chu didn't want to explain any further. He continued to struggle with beginner missions, because Yi Chu hadn't started over from scratch in many years. After a day of doing missions, Yi Chu found the very first spear he had ever created. Yi Chu decided to upgrade it and use it. Later, he went to wash his face to stay awake. But when Yi Chu came back, the owner had already fallen asleep. So he continued playing the game. Suddenly, he received an invitation to join a party for a hidden boss fight. A blonde guy who claimed to be the leader introduced himself as Yu Zhang. He was running a party made up entirely of beginners. So Yi Chu grew curious about what this team was planning, and he agreed to join. Yu Zhang said that if they could just take down this hidden boss, they would become rich. At that moment, the boss appeared. Suddenly, a player attacked it, so the boss quickly counterattacked. Yi Chu stayed silent and just observed. He only healed and watched how this party would handle things. Yi Chu noticed that the beginners played terribly, while Yu Zhong wasn't too bad. After everyone attacked for a while, the boss immediately entered its berserk phase. It moved faster, and the boss took down many of the beginners. At this moment, Yu Zhong was pushed into a corner. He forced Yi Chu to heal him, but Yi Chu refused, because he didn't want to raise his threat level. And then he became the boss's target. At that moment, Yi Chu said that he had already figured out this guy's plan. Because from the start, he had arranged the formation, making it easy for the boss to wipe out the beginners, while leaving himself a chance to finish off the boss. At that moment, he demanded to share the loot with Yi Chu. But Yi Chu refused, because he also wanted to handle it himself and take the entire reward. At this point, Yu Zhong saw that the boss still had a lot of health. But without Yi Chu's healing, he knew he definitely couldn't defeat it, so he offered to give Yi Chu a larger share. But Yi Chu didn't care, because Yi Chu didn't like people like him. In the end, Yu Zhong was killed by the boss. That was when Yi Chu finally made his move. He quickly defeated the hidden boss and obtained many rare items. At that moment, the owner woke up. She was shocked to see Yi Chu defeat the hidden boss all by himself, and even unlock a super rare skill book. However, in the chat channel, everyone criticized him for abandoning his teammates, so he explained the reason to the owner, which made the owner angry as well. But Yi Chu didn't care what they thought. That night, the owner went to sleep, while Yi Chu continued playing the game. At that moment, news about a beginner player killing a boss spread across the entire server. The next day, Yi Chu ran into Yu Zhong again. This guy continued his plan of dragging beginners to farm points for him. But Yu Zhong's team was missing one member, so Yi Chu asked to join the party. Yu Zhong agreed, because he wanted to take revenge on him. Inside the dungeon, Yi Chu single-handedly defeated the boss, which shocked everyone. After that, he led the team to a higher-level dungeon called Spider Cave. When they went inside, Yi Chu quickly realized this was a dangerous place, so he used his strength to leap up. Yi Chu easily took down the small spiders. That way, he attracted the attention of the monsters, while he dealt with them by himself. And Yi Chu successfully cleared all those monsters. At that moment, the boss appeared as well, so everyone got ready for battle. But of course, Yi Chu wasn't about to let them share the loot. Once again, he fought alone. He charged forward, using his own skills. Yi Chu continuously attacked the spider, while it had no time to counter, and he claimed victory. At this point, Yi Chu's name started to draw attention. In another party, a master player named Lan He from the Blue Brook Guild suspected that this was the alternate account of a famous pro, and they wanted to find out who it was. Back to Yi Chu's side, everyone now regarded him as their leader. They suddenly advanced into the area of the Spider Lord, and this one was also a hidden boss, so they got ready to fight together. Yi Chu quickly directed everyone. He drew its attention and rushed forward to attack. Yi Chu dodged its moves while guiding the others. Finally, he unleashed multiple skills. Yi Chu successfully took down the boss, and he only kept the item, Spider Silk, while leaving the other drops for the team. At that moment, the system announcement echoed. Everyone realized that Yi Chu had once again slain a hidden boss. Lan He decided to send him a friend request to investigate. Yi Chu immediately recognized that Lan He was one of the top 5 experts of Blue Brook Guild. He thought for a moment, then suddenly accepted the request. Lan He continued to invite him to join dungeon runs, but he also set conditions for Lan He. Yi Chu said that all equipment and titles could go to Lan He, but Lan He had to pay him with certain materials. The first ones were spider silk and a medallion. These two were easy for Lan He to agree to. But when he heard about white wolf teeth and fur, Lan He had to think twice, because those two items were very hard to get. However, he wanted to witness Yi Chu's reputation for himself, so Lan He accepted. By morning, Yi Chu had finished his night shift. At that moment, the owner came down to check on him after the night. Yi Chu had only earned 3 titles, including the title of being the first to defeat a hidden boss. But he considered that just luck. He asked for a place to sleep. The owner then led him to one. Yi Chu evaluated that overall, the place was fine, but it was just a shabby little room. since the staff rooms were already full. This was the only spot left for him. However, Yi Chu only needed a blanket and a bed. As soon as he lay down, he immediately fell asleep, which made the owner think he was quite easygoing. By evening, Yi Chu realized that the news of his retirement had already spread. All the players felt regret for a legend, because he had spent 10 years with the game and contributed so much. Yi Chu felt a pang in his heart, but in the end, that was still his decision. He went outside to smoke. Yi Chu saw the owner sitting there crying, because she was mourning the retirement of her idol. He handed her a few tissues, but when she had cried enough, she told him to finish his cigarette and then get back to work. When Yi Chu came back, the owner was still crying. She insisted the team's poor performance wasn't Yi Chu's fault, but Yi Chu replied, "Crying won't solve anything. Even if Yi Chu on the screen has left, you still have me right here." Meanwhile, Lan He and his team noticed that today the game felt much emptier. The simple reason was that everyone was too shocked by the news of Yi Chu's retirement. But Yi Chu went to meet Lan He to begin clearing the dungeon. He wanted 2 members of Lan He's team to switch roles. Yi Chu didn't need support for healing or tanking. He needed them to switch entirely to offense. And they had to fight according to Yi Chu's instructions. He guaranteed they would break the time record. But Yi Chu taking command made Lan He very angry. Still, because he wanted the dungeon record. So Lan He had no choice but to listen. When they entered the dungeon, Yi Chu charged ahead. He explained the strategy. Yi Chu would gather the monsters in one spot, and the whole group would unleash AoE skills to wipe them out. He rushed straight into the goblin horde, while the group included both melee and ranged enemies. But thanks to Yi Chu's agile movements, none of them managed to land a hit on him. At most, he pulled a few melee mobs to use as shields. Yi Chu even used them to block projectiles and throw them toward the ranged enemies. Once he had gathered a huge number of monsters, he leapt back. Yi Chu signaled Lan He's group to use their skills. They unleashed fire magic, ice spells, and sword techniques. Everyone cast their skills all at once. While outsiders assumed the whole team must have died in there, the announcement suddenly rang out. The system declared that Yi Chu had led the entire team to break the record. That evening, Lan He started boasting to the former record holders. Lan He was confident Yi Chu would join his Blue Brook Guild. But just as he finished speaking, the notification popped up that Yi Chu had left the team, which left him embarrassed in front of the people he had just bragged to. Because Lan He had been overly confident. The next morning, Yi Chu returned to his room to sleep. He saw that the landlady was still not awake. Yi Chu did some chores and then went to sleep. But when the landlady woke up, she noticed that someone had covered her with a blanket. The landlady immediately guessed it was Yi Chu. In the afternoon, Yi Chu woke up, and the landlady gave him food to thank him. Right after that, the landlady received a phone call, and she hurriedly ran off. Yi Chu had no idea what was going on. It turned out the landlady went to pick up her younger sister, Tang Ru, who had just returned from afar. She brought her sister back to the cafe and let her try playing the game. As soon as she entered the game, Tang Ru immediately showed incredibly fast hand movements. Everyone in the cafe already knew about her, and they saw that her skills were still as flawless as before. In just 3 minutes, she cleared the stage to avenge her sister. The landlady didn't understand why her sister didn't play Glory, even though her sister's skills were that high. Tang Ru replied that the game was too easy, so she had no interest. Hearing that, Yi Chu felt insulted. The landlady decided to set up a match between Yi Chu and Tang Ru. She had learned that Yi Chu defeated an opponent in less than a minute. So Tang Ru also wanted to test herself. Yi Chu asked if he should go easy on her. The landlady said, "How could you go easy with such a weak account?" So Yi Chu took out a pack of cigarettes to bet. Meanwhile, Tang Ru put up 100 yuan instead of cigarettes. As soon as the match started, Tang Ru fired her gun wildly. Yi Chu dodged the shots and counterattacked from behind. Tang Ru was forced to dodge and leapt up to keep shooting. But Yi Chu conjured a spear. He charged forward and knocked her gun aside. Yi Chu switched to a gun. He sprayed bullets, filling the screen with smoke and dust. Tang Ru tried to counterattack but only hit Yi Chu's decoy. He even summoned a goblin to throw rocks. At that moment, everyone realized he was the rising talent from recently. When Tang Ru could no longer see his position, Yi Chu circled behind and finished her off. Right after winning, he said softly, "If you want to beat me, you'll need to train for a few more years." That made Tang Ru upset, and she demanded another match. But Yi Chu said, "If we play again, it'll look like I'm bullying you." However, Tang Ru didn't want him to go easy on her. She kept losing, and the bet money kept increasing. Tang Ru lost so much that she was on the verge of tears. But the landlady wanted Yi Chu to say something to encourage her sister. He said, "Although Tang Ru's hand speed is very fast, glory requires more than just speed. So having good mechanics is a strength. But that was not her greatest strength. The game was not as simple as she thought. As for the money she just lost, he considered it her tuition fee. And if she needed to know anything, she could come to him." Afterwards, Tang Ru asked the landlady to create a new account for her, because she wanted to defeat Yi Chu in the game. Yi Chu used the money he won to treat the two sisters to a meal. After that, Tang Ru started creating her account, and she still didn't know which class to choose. She wanted to make a character with a versatile class like Yi Chu's. But that role was very difficult to play. The landlady then guided her sister to pick the same class Yi Chu once played, which was the battle mage. She even gave Tang Ru some ready-made study materials. But Yi Chu noticed that the materials were already outdated. He decided to revise them so Tang Ru could learn properly. Yi Chu kept editing the materials until late at night. Then he decided to go outside for a smoke. Suddenly, he overheard players talking about a huge boss that would appear tonight. And he guessed that the three biggest guilds would definitely come to fight over it. But for a hunter like Yi Chu, he saw this as a great opportunity. That night, as soon as the boss appeared, ordinary players immediately rushed in. The three major guilds waited outside. They wanted to rush in when the boss's health was low. Those three guilds were Lan He's guild, the guild of the guy wearing a wizard hat named Sha Xian, and the guild of the guy named Du Han. These three guilds already held hostility toward one another. So whenever they met, they always looked for a way to clash. But no guild wanted to go in first and let the other two steal the reward. Du Han brought quite a large force, so Sha Xian proposed cooperation with Lan He. However, those two guilds already had grudges. But in this situation, forming a temporary team was not that important. While the three sides were still arguing, a guy named Huang Shoshan suddenly rushed in to attack the boss. This guy was no weakling, but he had a plan when he dragged the boss straight toward the three guilds that were quarreling. Huang Shoshan was beaten nearly to the ground by the boss when Yi Chu rushed in to support. He decided to join Huang Shoshan's party to fight together. Yi Chu charged in alone to solo the boss. At the same time, he used his clone to attack. Yi Chu quickly knocked the boss down. Then he called Huang Shoshan's team into the fight. He told Huang Shoshan to throw sand, but Huang Shoshan was too clumsy. His sand throw was terrible, and when he threw bricks, he ended up hitting his teammates. After a while of being guided by Yi Chu, Huang Shoshan gradually did things correctly and was able to give more support. The three guilds hadn't expected that Yi Chu could make such a ragtag group become this effective. They were worried Yi Chu might take the boss. However, the three guilds still didn't want to rush in first, because they were afraid of being ambushed by the others. Sha Xian took the initiative to ask Yi Chu to let his guild join the party. The other two guilds also asked to join, but Yi Chu ignored them all. With no other choice, the three guilds decided to charge in anyway. Lan He even told his men to keep watch, saying that if the other two guilds touched Yi Chu, they had to stop them. Seeing that, Yi Chu told his group to get ready to dodge. And sure enough, just as they stopped attacking, the boss immediately unleashed a special move. It summoned rows of tombstones, and hordes of zombies began to crawl out. The zombies instantly rushed toward the three guilds. The moment they realized the boss was no longer there, Yi Chu and Huang Shoshan had already dragged the boss far away from the battle. The two of them even came across Yu Zong's party again, and Yi Chu added those three players in to fight together. Right when the boss unleashed its barrage of bullets, Yi Chu circled behind. He landed a critical strike on its head. Lan He and the other two guilds also started rushing over. They intended to steal the boss, but Yi Chu told everyone to speed up. In the end, they couldn't catch up. Yi Chu was forced to keep fighting alone. He pushed the boss farther away, because it was about to use another skill. When he slammed it into the wall, the boss only managed to summon one more zombie before dying. Wong Jesi took care of the zombie, and the whole group successfully killed the boss. After finishing, Yi Chu bid farewell to everyone. Meanwhile, Tang Ru was gradually getting used to the game. The landlady heard news that Yi Chu had slain another high-level boss. Wong Jesi then sent Yi Chu a friend request. Yu Zhang became much quieter today. He was also affected by the departure of his idol. Suddenly, Lan He sent Yi Chu a chat message. He blamed him for taking the boss alone. But Yi Chu believed, whoever can kill the boss deserves the reward. So there's no question of me giving it away. After that, he discovered that the record he once set with Lan He's party had been surpassed by a guild called Royal Style. And that guild happened to be Yi Chu's former club. When they heard this news, everyone suspected that he had gone to Royal Style to start over. But at that moment, he didn't even know what Royal Style was. Yi Chu only knew that the record they set required at least 3 professional players. Yi Chu then called Du Han's guild. He told Du Han to take care of the materials, while he would prepare the manpower. The 2 people he intended to bring were Wong Jesi and Tang Ru. Yi Chu also asked Du Han to prepare equipment for 2 classes, Battle Mage and Launcher. The landlady thought, he's preparing launcher gear for her. But Yi Chu remained silent. He didn't answer, which made Tang Ru even more impatient. The next evening, right after waking up, Yi Chu saw his former team in the middle of a match. Everyone around was praising them. Meanwhile, the captain Sun Jeping was able to hold off 3 players by himself. But Yi Chu knew for sure that his old team would lose. So he didn't have any expectations. Yi Chu understood the opponent very well. They had a late-game dragging strategy. Meanwhile, Sun Jeping was the arrogant type. His hand speed was fast, but that only made him easier to bait. The more bloodthirsty he became, the faster he played, causing his teammates to fall behind and critical mistakes to appear. Yi Chu considered that just a personal opinion. But glory was never a game where one person could carry the entire team. In that match, Su Mucheng also appeared. She took the role of a gunner. But Su Mucheng was left isolated. She had no one to protect her. Su Mucheng was constantly targeted by assassins and forced away from the formation. While the match was at its most intense, the internet cafe suddenly lost power. The landlady had to go find Yi Chu. She asked him to go get someone to fix it. By night, the cafe started to quiet down. At that moment, 2 members of Yi Chu's old team returned from drinking. They were still upset inside, because Sun Jeping was too arrogant, so he refused to cooperate with his teammates. Suddenly, they noticed this cafe was still open. They stopped by to take a look and happened to run into Yi Chu. One of them immediately recognized him, while the other was drunk. That guy only paid attention to Tang Ru. The guy then introduced himself as the vice captain named Yu Zhang. Because this guy's personality was just as arrogant as Sun Jeping's. When he saw Tang Ru playing Glory, he even asked her if she recognized him. So everyone walked along and quietly reminded him to look aside. When they met Yi Chu again, Yu Zhang did not forget to taunt him. He sarcastically said, "Now that you work at an internet cafe, do you have enough to eat?" Yi Chu still kept a good attitude. He saw that Yu Zhang hadn't changed at all. In the past, he often reminded Yu Zhang about his mistakes, which made Yu Zhang even more annoyed about it. And he even advised him, "Try to play better." This made him angry. Yu Zhang uttered insults, but Yi Chu was not easily provoked. He only said that Yu Zhang was so bad that Sun Jeping had to carry him, while he himself didn't even show his face. He also reminded him, "If you want to cause trouble, be prepared to appear in the news tomorrow." He knew he couldn't do anything. Yu Zhang had no choice but to leave. Yi Chu continued to sit and guide Tang Ru in leveling up. The next day, Yi Chu took Wong Jesi and Tang Ru to meet Du Han. Du Han introduced all 3 to his team captain. And the person had a character with a name that could not be confused with anyone else. His name was Zhang Xinjie. Du Han didn't expect Yi Chu to bring along a fool and a new girl just learning to play to break the record. The third person he called was Su Mucheng. She met Yi Chu again. Su Mucheng was clearly moved. As for Zhang Xinjie, He didn't understand why Du Han was praising Yi Chu so much. Because he looked at this team as nothing more than a mixed hot pot. But when they entered the dungeon, everyone realized that these were all high-level players. Yi Chu assigned tasks clearly. Everyone went to pull monsters. Huang Shoshan still behaved in his usual style, pulling monsters while chatting nonsense. Meanwhile, Zhang Xinjie, afraid of trouble, had no choice but to pull monsters quietly. Su Mucheng also led another group of monsters back. Yi Chu told Huang Shoshan and Tang Ru to alternate and coordinate in attacking. But Tang Ru began to encounter problems. She kept making mistakes. Tang Ru was under pressure from the rushing monsters. She almost took a critical hit. Yi Chu promptly told Tang Ru to step back. She corrected her actions and tried again. She followed his instructions. Tang Ru successfully helped the team get through the difficult stage. Thanks to this, the raid ended in victory. Zhang Xinjie couldn't believe it, because the people he called weak had reaction speeds comparable to professional players. Especially, the girl gunslinger could even use high-level skills. He began to suspect that this was the player Su Mucheng. Yi Chu noticed this. He then diverted the conversation with her to distract him. Zhang Xinjie still thought she was just lucky. Yi Chu told Su Mucheng not to reveal any more tricks. He suspected that Zhang Xinjie might notice. After clearing the dungeon, Yi Chu told everyone to disband, and next time they would do it again. Meanwhile, he continued to guide Tang Ru in leveling up. In the following days, he constantly taught them. He corrected everyone's mistakes. Tang Ru learned new skills. Huang Shoshan only needed to follow his instructions correctly. As for Su Mucheng, she was reminded to get enough sleep. At the appointed time, Yi Chu called everyone together. Then they repeated the record-breaking attempt. In the end, they broke Royal Style's record, even though it was only by a few seconds. Upon hearing that a rising player had done it, the leaders of many teams realized it was Yi Chu. Yu Zhang became increasingly annoyed. He was unwilling to accept it. Even though he knew Yi Chu had left the team, he was still determined to scheme against him. That night, Yi Chu heard that Royal Style had just set a record in a new dungeon. He and Tang Ru now had something to play. But since the two of them were not part of the official team, they needed to find more people. At that moment, Yu Zhang used a secondary account to send a friend request to Yi Chu. He pretended to be a new player. He asked to join and learn. But Yi Chu let him duel Huang Shoshan first. Huang Shoshan, after winning, acted all high and mighty, which made Yu Zhang resentful. But in reality, he intentionally held back so as not to be exposed. Afterwards, Yi Chu still let him join the team to break the record. Su Mucheng asked why they didn't invite Lan He's guild or Zhang Xinjie. Yi Chu explained that those two guilds were being suppressed by Royal Style, so they were temporarily unavailable. He directed the whole team to coordinate and successfully surpassed Royal Style's record. But even more surprisingly, Yu Zhang turned out to be a member of Royal Style. He learned Yi Chu's fighting style and decided to apply it to raise the record. Shortly after, Yu Zhang was called to compete. Since he hadn't prepared well, he was crushed by his opponents. While continuously being taunted, the viewers saw that he was unsettled. They also heard his opponents mention losing to Sun Jeping, which made him even angrier. Yu Zhang decided to enter the dungeon to vent his anger. Once again, he surpassed Yi Chu's team record. Afterwards, he used his secondary account to message Yi Chu. He pretended to say that he had tried his best. Yi Chu just smiled. He replied that no one could be fooled by him. He knew very well that it was Yu Zhang, and all the tricks he used had been taught by Yi Chu before. If he wanted to fool him, he wouldn't get past a genius. Yu Zhang felt uneasy. He immediately logged out of the game. As for Yi Chu, he didn't care. Being surpassed didn't matter, because he still had a way to overtake the record. He told Tang Ru to get ready. Then he called Huang Shoshan to join. At that moment, Tang Ru suddenly noticed a guy lurking outside the door. She asked Yi Chu to handle it. He went out and called the guy in, but he still avoided coming. In the end, Yi Chu had to return first. Afterwards, a guy entered with a slow and deliberate manner. He always covered his face so that no one could recognize him. When he finally sat in a secluded spot, this guy finally took off his mask. It turned out that he was also a player and knew Yi Chu's real identity. When looking at the poster, everyone realized that this guy was the one who had caused Yu Zhang to suffer a humiliating defeat in tonight's match. His name was Lu Hao. Yi Chu had invited Lu Hao to join in breaking the dungeon record. Lu Hao was not used to operating a low-level account. He even laughed at Yi Chu's leisure for spending time studying strategies to break the record. However, Yi Chu just told Lu Hao to wait until the right time and then enter together. And also reminded him to speak quietly if he didn't want others to notice. As soon as they entered, Huang Shoshan asked Yi Chu where Yu Zhang was. Yi Chu replied that he had gone into hiding. Yi Chu intended to introduce Lu Hao to everyone, but he suddenly shouted loudly, forcing Yi Chu to stop him from saying more. Meanwhile, Huang Shoshan took the opportunity to sing, so Yi Chu told him to sing if he was free. But for now, they needed to enter the dungeon. The moment they entered, Yi Chu immediately rushed forward and launched an attack, causing the zombies to appear. He then used his clone skill to lure the enemies, and quickly flew to the back. The monsters were pushed into the crevice. Lu Hao ran after him and asked Yi Chu what this method was for. Yi Chu explained that this trick of shoving monsters would help save time. Once he understood, Lu Hao quickly caught on and didn't need further instructions. Right after that, the boss appeared. The others rushed together to push the boss toward Yi Chu, but they misdirected it. Lu Hao had to step in to support. He launched a move, pushing the boss straight toward Yi Chu. At this moment, Yi Chu switched to gun form and defeated the boss using advanced techniques. Since everyone here was familiar, he no longer needed to hide his true identity. Yi Chu then revealed that Royal Style had also used his method to set a record. He also openly said that the person pretending to be a newbie following Royal Style was Yu Zhang. He had copied Yi Chu's strategy to use for himself. Yi Chu's reason for seeking out Lu Hao this time was clear. Lu Hao continued to chatter, asking how many forms Yi Chu's weapon could transform into. It was getting too noisy. Yi Chu told Huang Shoshan to sing loudly to drown out Lu Hao's nonsense. After that, Yu Zhang realized that the record he had set was once again surpassed by Yi Chu. What was special was that he also recognized the person who had helped Yi Chu as the one who had provoked him in the previous match. Lu Hao kept rambling about Yi Chu's weapon, and everyone else, tired of listening, went off to do their own things. Yi Chu also took off his headphones, letting Lu Hao talk to himself. After half a day, Lu Hao complained to Yi Chu for not paying attention to him. Incidentally, he also asked why Yi Chu retired. Yi Chu admitted that he hadn't done well as team captain, but Lu Hao thought that Yu Zhang was the real reason the team had declined. Lu Hao then asked why Yi Chu didn't transfer to another team. Meanwhile, Su Mucheng ran into Yu Zhang and mocked him for pretending to be a newbie. Yu Zhang immediately realized that Su Mucheng had also helped Yi Chu. But he couldn't say it outright, because doing so would be the same as admitting that the earlier mockery was correct. Yi Chu explained that he left the team instead of joining another one because he didn't want to involve Su Mucheng. If he switched teams, Su Mucheng would also cancel her contract to follow him. Her contract still had more than a year remaining. Therefore, Yi Chu did not want her to suffer a loss. Lu Hao thought that if Yi Chu waited more than a year to return, then by that time he would be no different from an old man. But Yi Chu used the results of their solo matches to remind him, which made Lu Hao embarrassed and leave first. However, as he left, Lu Hao still reminded Yi Chu that he must return to the professional scene to compete with him. Yi Chu reached out his hand, but not to shake hands. Rather, it was to take money. Meanwhile, Lan Yi received a message from the Duhan Guild, requesting him to do something about Yi Chu. If Yi Chu were allowed to act so freely, the Duhan Guild would lose its benefits. However, Lan Yi was not capable enough to do that. While Yi Chu's team was clearing the dungeon, Huang Shoshan suddenly noticed a stranger carrying mage equipment from one of the three major guilds. Sha Xian immediately charged into a solo fight right in the middle of the dungeon and even said that it was just a martial arts exchange. The guy easily subdued Tang Ru, and even gave Huang Shoshan a proper beating. Yi Chu could not sit idly by and had to intervene. The movements of both were so fast that others could not follow with their eyes. After a tense combat, Yi Chu suddenly leapt forward, delivering a powerful kick, but it was only a clone. The real Yi Chu had already launched a finishing move from behind the other player. Afterwards, that person left the machine and signed autographs for fans. He didn't want to continue fighting, because his identity would surely be exposed. He realized that Yi Chu was probing while attacking. But Yi Chu had truly figured out who was controlling Xia Xian's account earlier. That person was Wong Jesi, the captain of Xia Yu. Wong Jesi was one of the 5 top players and had been given the title, the unique magician, due to his unpredictable combat style. Difficult for anyone to anticipate. Afterwards, Wong Jesi went to meet the team's substitute members and called out his juniors. A while later, all 3 substitute youths were given low-level accounts to deal with Yi Chu. 2 of them soon found Yi Chu and immediately launched an ambush. However, Yi Chu had anticipated it, dodging easily and causing the 2 youths to hit each other by accident. He began firing. At this moment, the shop owner still didn't know who he was fighting. The youth holding the spear told the other not to get in his way. Then he charged in to fight one-on-one with Yi Chu. The result? He was mercilessly beaten by Yi Chu. Yi Chu took advantage of his opponent's blind spots to attack, making the opponent take hits without knowing where Yi Chu was. Finally, he launched a finishing move, then turned to deal with the assassin youth. This assassin youth could resist longer, but against Yi Chu's overwhelming ability, he was merely struggling in vain. The 3rd youth ran over to assist, but still couldn't change the situation against Yi Chu. At that moment, Wong Jesi also logged into the game to support his juniors. He brought along a whole group of people. Wong Jesi declared to them that from now on, the entire team would participate in a special training session. The boss they needed to defeat was Yi Chu. He emphasized that this was the biggest boss in history. If he wasn't mistaken, the player facing them had an 80% chance of being the retired battle god Yi Chu. From that point, for many consecutive days, Yi Chu became the target for training for the members of Wong Jesi's team. This happened so often that Yi Chu had to ask them when they would finally stop. Every night, Wong Jesi would call his juniors to continue training with Yi Chu. Yi Chu even asked Wong Jesi if using him as a training target might traumatize his juniors. He accepted to fight the entire team, because he was certain that no one in Wong Jesi's team had experience dealing with a versatile character like his. Wong Jesi immediately sent all of them in. All 5 charged in simultaneously, while Xia Xian stood hidden. Observing, Yi Chu turned and ran to lure the opponents to chase him. Just as he was about to be hit, he dodged and counterattacked with firepower. He continued to lead the group, using bombs to create smoke and obscure their vision. The assassin still managed to follow, forcing Yi Chu to both run and counterattack at the same time. He dodged magical bombs from the 2 mages, then quickly vanished. When the team split up to search, they realized that Yi Chu seemed to have escaped the game. Wong Jesi informed the whole team that they needed to learn from this experience, because even he himself could not defeat Yi Chu. At that moment, Tang Ru approached the team. The person sitting behind her was Yi Chu. He said that no matter how much he played, he couldn't achieve anything, so he decided to let Tang Ru take his place. Yi Chu said that if anyone could win a solo match against Tang Ru, they would have a chance to face him. He read out the room name and password for Tang Ru to join. Those who defeated Tang Ru would enter a one-on-one solo match with him. But they had to place a bet. In this way, they could both practice and not let Yi Chu suffer any loss. One by one, they fought Tang Ru and then met Yi Chu. Among them, the young assassin who had been ambushing Yi Chu for days caught his attention. Yi Chu recognized his talent but realized he hadn't developed in a suitable environment. He suggested that he change his character class from assassin to support swordsman, because he had good vision and knew how to coordinate with teammates. Although changing class immediately would be very difficult, if he endured the hardships, he would achieve deserved results. At this point, Wong Jesi also had to reconsider Tang Ru, although she was just a new player. When facing professional players like them, she could still hold out for up to 3 minutes. As long as she still had health, she would continue to charge and fight to the end. After letting the whole team practice, only Wong Jesi remained. Of course, he also had to fight a match against Tang Ru before facing Yi Chu. When entering the match, Yi Chu asked Wong Jesi if he needed to be given an advantage, and didn't forget to tease him about some past events to provoke him. The two started the fight with long-range attacks, then quickly rushed into close combat. Yi Chu suddenly retreated, causing Wong Jesi to chase after him. But Wong Jesi was only chasing after Yi Chu's clone. Meanwhile, Yi Chu had set up a pillar of fire surrounding the arena. Wong Jesi then used ice magic to counterbalance it. The two kept engaging in fierce combat. According to what Yi Chu had said before, Wong Jesi had always had to suppress his true strength. His unpredictable fighting style made it hard for teammates to keep up, so he had to restrain himself. This could easily create risks and cause him to lose himself. But with Wong Jesi's ability, he could maintain his restraint without losing his way. Now, facing his greatest opponent again, Wong Jesi could finally unleash his full strength. The match lasted a long time and finally ended in a draw. However, Yi Chu felt that he had held back a little, which is why the result was a tie. Tonight, Yi Chu had earned enough, so he happily welcomed them to continue. Everyone noticed that Yi Chu still intended to return to professional play after a year. They took this as motivation, realizing that they must not be lazy and should continue practicing. The next morning, a guy with blonde hair came to the internet cafe. He said he had come to see the boss. Hearing his voice, Tang Ru immediately recognized who it was. Yi Chu was surprised, because it turned out that Wong Jesi also knew the way to come here. That day, Yi Chu agreed to help a guild break a dungeon record. The guild was named Moonwheel, and it wasn't very famous. Lan He's chat channel immediately buzzed with discussion. Everyone assumed that Moonwheel had bribed Yi Chu with equipment, so Lan He and his teammates planned to make a move, wanting to fight a match to stop Yi Chu. The world chat of the game became even more lively. When the new record appeared under the name Yi Chu, people got jealous and started mocking both the Lan He guild and the Han team, because these two guilds had also bribed Yi Chu to set records before. Members of the Lan He guild thought that they had to set a new record themselves, otherwise their reputation would decline. Meanwhile, Yi Chu took Tang Ru and Wong Jesi shopping. He let them choose, and he would pay for it himself. Wong Jesi, being unrestrained, chose a super expensive item, prompting Yi Chu to remind him to pick something within budget. When they stopped by the ingredient shop, Yi Chu happened to run into a guy from the Lan He group. He decided to try negotiating. Yi Chu haggled, but the guy stubbornly refused to take a loss. In the end, Yi Chu walked away. Afterwards, he took Tang Ru and Wong Jesi to the new dungeon to grind experience, preparing to break the record. Suddenly, Wong Jesi sensed someone approaching, so he went to investigate. As soon as they met, he immediately engaged in combat. When they stopped, the other person turned out to be a junior who had once been part of Wong Jesi's team, the one Yi Chu had taught before. He tried out his new role and found it fairly good, but still needed more practice. Yi Chu advised that if he wanted, he could come to him for training. Wong Jesi, however, still felt that something was wrong, because earlier he had genuinely sensed danger. Yi Chu agreed that Wong Jesi was right. The real danger came from a mysterious guild that had just appeared and immediately launched an attack. At this time, members of the three major guilds were all observing, so the identity of the mysterious guild was still unclear. Their fighting style resembled Yi Chu's so closely that he thought if he fought a bit longer, he might notice something. Wong Jesi was pushed back, and the guy immediately used a formation to boost Wong Jesi's power. Thanks to this, Wong Jesi charged forward, fighting fiercely. When the formation's effect wore off, Yi Chu immediately used it again for Wong Jesi and Tang Ru. Both of them charged in at the same time, fighting relentlessly. Yi Chu also joined the battle. With the assistance of his new junior, Yi Chu's team of 4 had defeated more than a dozen opponents. But their joy didn't last long before a guy from the Blue Brook Guild jumped in. Wong Jesi stepped up to face him, and overall, the two sides were evenly matched. Yi Chu had to intervene to end the battle. The leader of the Blue Brook Guild also appeared. Yi Chu realized that the entire Blue Brook Guild had come today to set a record. However, they made a mistake by not allowing Lan He to participate. According to Yi Chu, Lan He had the ability to coordinate well when clearing dungeons. right after the Blue Brook Guild set their record. The world chat was filled with boasting and mocking Yi Chu, so he decided to give them what they wanted. That night, Yi Chu learned that the group that had attacked him earlier that afternoon were people from his old club. They wanted to crush him on every front. Yi Chu asked his new junior to help break the dungeon record. He had just come up with a new strategy, and it required the junior's enhancement skill. Although he was not yet familiar with the new role, Yi Chu gave him 3 chances. Since he had once been a professional player, he would surely learn quickly. For the first time, someone placed their trust in him, and the guy was determined to live up to it. The next day, Yi Chu truly broke the record. Afterwards, Yi Chu went to the shop owner to borrow an account. Someone had sent him a challenge, and he wanted to use the owner's account to respond. The opponent was the vice leader of the Blue Brook Guild. This person split into 4 clones and charged, and Yi Chu immediately lifted his gun, destroying 3 of the clones, forcing him to dodge the bullets. When the opponent rushed in for close combat, Yi Chu cleverly threw a cannon, teleported behind him, and kicked him into the air. Right after that, he caught the cannon and fired continuously, winning the match in just 39 seconds. Everyone was astonished. This battle was witnessed by an analyst from Lu Hao's team. When he heard the name Yi Chu, Lu Hao was slightly alarmed, wanting to leave, but the analyst immediately pointed out, the first person to participate with Yi Chu in breaking the dungeon record was Yu Zhang. He had once used a strategy learned from Royal Style to secure the record. There was no way Yu Zhang had created another account to help Yi Chu break the record. This proved that the two knew each other. With such extraordinary skill, the recently famous player had to be Yi Chu, the legendary player who had retired. Lan Yi was shocked to learn that they were acquainted with the legend. The analyst also confirmed, on the night Yi Chu broke the record, Lu Hao was not present, indicating that he had gone to Yi Chu to assist him. Lu Hao couldn't deny it, so he admitted and revealed all information about Yi Chu's weapons. At this moment, Yi Chu saw Tang Ru reading the analysis of the record on the forum. He asked her to send the homepage of the article's author. Later, Lu Hao messaged that Yi Chu's identity had been exposed by none other than his own team leader, Wen Zhou. Wen Zhou checked it out and mocked Yi Chu as a crippled hand. Yi Chu didn't argue, because indeed, his hand was damaged. The person nicknamed Crippled Hand sent a challenge, and Yi Chu immediately accepted. Both entered the arena. Wen Zhou was merely a straightforward mage. Yi Chu thought there was no need to give his all in this match. He rushed into close combat, while Wen Zhou only cast spells to block his path. Despite being forced into melee, Wen Zhou remained confident that he could block every attack. Yi Chu switched guns to shoot. Wen Zhou immediately used his shield. He didn't have fast hands, but his analytical ability was second to none. Yi Chu thought, if Wen Zhou had faster hands, no one could match him. In the end, faced with overwhelming power, Wen Zhou still lost, but he analyzed that Yi Chu's character class was well-rounded, though it had one flaw: low damage. At level 95, this class would be considered weak, because it couldn't compensate for damage like other basic classes. Yi Chu just smiled, because he had his own way of using it. Lu Hao read Wen Zhou's analysis and decided to challenge Yi Chu to a solo match. But he accidentally used his main account, causing the world chat to explode. He quickly switched to a secondary account to arrange the solo. Yi Chu simply replied, "If you want, come help with dungeon runs, otherwise, forget it." Afterwards, he went to see the shop owner. He knew that earlier, Tang Ru had lost to someone, so he agreed to seek revenge on her behalf. When checking messages, he saw that everyone had gathered to break the dungeon record. Only Su Mucheng was missing. Suddenly, Su Mucheng, disguised, arrived. Yi Chu knew that if the shop owner saw Su Mucheng, she would surely cause a scene, so he told her to go to the restroom first. Su Mucheng reminded Yi Chu to avenge her sister. Afterwards, she explained that she had come late at night because she was a little bored. Yi Chu arranged a computer for her to prepare together to break the record. As Yi Chu entered the game, he noticed someone targeting him. He pretended to be unaware and went into a nearby alley. When those people chased after him, he quickly vanished. Afterwards, Yi Chu asked Su Mucheng and learned that she was also being hunted. His entire team had been attacked. Tang Ru and his new junior had been killed by the guild. Only Huang Shoshan was lucky enough to escape, but he still had to keep running. A guy walked past a well, curiously leaned over to look inside, and almost fell. Huang Shoshan seized the opportunity to scare him, but the guy said he had come to help. That person was Wei Chen. Without many words, Huang Shoshan jumped out of the well, immediately pursued by enemies. Wei Chen observed the situation and guided Huang Shoshan to escape. Thanks to this, Huang Shoshan was temporarily safe and met Wei Chen in a secluded spot. Wei Chen wondered how Huang Shoshan's team could break the record without high-quality weapons. At that moment, Yi Chu called to ask where Huang Shoshan was and arranged a meetup location. Each team member was being chased by more than a dozen enemies. Wei Chen knew that if Huang Shoshan showed his face, he would be in danger, so he only showed him the path to the meeting point. Meanwhile, the other members still had to run and hide. Lan He monitored the guild chat, learning that 7 major guilds were joining forces to eliminate Yi Chu. They even tried to lure the Blue Brook Guild to participate, but Lan He was the only one who knew Yi Chu's true identity, so she didn't agree. Lu Hao kept spamming messages demanding a solo match with Yi Chu. Yi Chu only replied that he was busy, saying, tomorrow. But past midnight, Lu Hao insisted on a solo match again, forcing Yi Chu to tell him to head to the meetup point. When Yi Chu appeared, he also brought along a bunch of enemies behind him. He explained to Lu Hao that he was being chased because he had just broken the record. But the enemies mistakenly thought Lu Hao was in his team and split up to chase. They quickly realized Lu Hao's level was low, not worth the effort, so they ignored him. Feeling underestimated, Lu Hao angrily chased after them, using tricks to provoke them into turning back to fight. Don't underestimate him for being low level, because Lu Hao unleashed a flashy skill, finishing off a counter-attacker. Seeing a guy holding a fine sword, Lu Hao eagerly chased to steal it. Yi Chu turned back, and Lu Hao decided to continue the promised solo match. But while leaping around, Lu Hao suddenly fell face first due to running out of mana. Yi Chu had to give him a mana potion. At that moment, more and more enemies arrived. Lu Hao realized this fight would consume a huge amount of mana, and Yi Chu didn't have enough potions to supply him, so the two coordinated together. They targeted the weaker flank to break the encirclement. The enemies thought Yi Chu and Lu Hao were completely surrounded, but no sooner had they said this than one of them was shot down by Yi Chu's reinforcements. All team members were present. They wondered where Huang Shoshan had found a new member like Lu Hao. During the battle, Lu Hao fought while chatting, causing the screen to fill with chat bubbles, blocking the view. Wei Chen was only good at observing, and had almost no combat skills, even accidentally hitting Huang Shoshan. Amidst the intense combat, a customer in the cafe called Yi Chu to buy something. He had to ask the customer to wait a moment, then told his junior to use an enhancement spell to finish quickly. Yi Chu's group immediately regrouped, fully utilizing the buff spells, sweeping the enemies clean. Many opponents were sent back to the respawn point. Everyone was frustrated, being attacked while also mocked by Yi Chu. Another team passing by to fight monsters accidentally got caught in the chaotic battle, and was also thoroughly beaten unfairly. In the end, Yi Chu led the group out, then decided to invite them to go hunt monsters. Lu Hao still insisted on a solo match, but Yi Chu let the team vote. Everyone chose to go hunt monsters. Lu Hao asked Yi Chu if he intended to form a team to compete in tournaments. Su Mucheng would certainly follow him, and the new junior respected him greatly, so if he asked, they would agree. But Yi Chu admitted that he hadn't considered that yet. Lu Hao believed this team had potential for competitions, but that could wait. For now, they still had to hunt monsters. Meanwhile, Du Han's guild began to suspect Lan He's Blue Brook Guild. They didn't understand why Lan He was so determined not to join this ambush. At the internet cafe, Yi Chu went to make noodles for Su Mucheng. Watching everyone fight together, he thought that forming them into a real team was actually a good idea. He ate noodles with Su Mucheng. She ate while watching a movie. Then, feeling sleepy, rested her head on his shoulder. Suddenly, Tang Ru walked by, saw Su Mucheng, and immediately recognized her as the gunner in their team. Seeing that Su Mucheng was sleepy, Tang Ru told Yi Chu to take her to his room to rest temporarily. Yi Chu thought that was fine, since Su Mucheng hadn't slept yet. The next morning, a guy from last night's ambush, originally from the old team, went to the commander to report something. But the commander was angry about the team's poor performance. So the guy went to find the vice commander. The vice commander, eating, said, "Report it after you finish eating." Watching how the vice commander ate, one could tell he had a strong obsessive-compulsive streak. He ate half first, then the remaining half. After finishing, he neatly placed his chopsticks, only then beginning to listen to the report. The guy submitted information about Yi Chu and brought the documents to the commander. After reviewing, the commander focused on 3 individuals. The first was Lu Hao. The second was Su Mucheng. Both were merely under suspicion, without a conclusion yet. As for Yi Chu, he was unique and special. Just a glance was enough to recognize him. To confirm this suspicion, the commander and vice commander decided to use 2 accounts to probe the game. That night, Yi Chu, Su Mucheng, and the juniors entered the game first, while Tang Ru and Huang Shoshan followed the shop owner somewhere. The 3 of them hadn't been able to level up for days due to continuous pursuit. In the game, Yi Chu accidentally encountered the former vice commander, the one who had forced him to retire to terminate his contract. He wasn't a physically strong type, but a big brain type. He stood behind, directing 2 juniors to attack Yi Chu. He only had to give instructions, while the other 2 only had to follow. Both kept using long-range skills, but Yi Chu dodged them all. Yi Chu switched guns, fired, but accidentally stepped into a trap. He quickly used his gun to push himself out of the trap. Afterwards, he lured the 2 young men into the trap and flew away using his gun. But at that very moment, the captain rushed down, pulling Yi Chu back to the ground. The captain used martial arts and skills, techniques that hadn't faded at all over time. After a few moves, the captain realized his opponent was indeed Yi Chu. He asked, "Why did you come back after retiring?" Yi Chu replied, "But no one forbids a retired person from playing games. Just look at football legend Johan Cruyff." The captain scolded Yi Chu for forgetting a promise from long ago, when he chose to retire 9 years ago. Yi Chu and he had a 100% win rate. Back then, they faced each other and decided to duel. They had a match that ended in a draw, then joined 2 different teams. When they met again in a tournament, Yi Chu was the one who ultimately won. And now, the 2 were facing off once more. Yi Chu drew a sword-shaped form to strike at the captain. The captain asked him, "Will you come back? Will you return to face me again?" Yi Chu was silent for a moment, then logged out of the game. He told himself, "I will rest for a year, then return to the professional scene at any cost." Today's video ends here. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel to support Oni-chan in making more exciting videos. Thank you all for watching until the very end. Love you forever. Quote.